But if your thinking is impulsive, and if your thinking is negative, and if your thinking is taking you on a downward spiral, right? So those are the things that are going to worsen your results. So
Since time immemorial, one of the greatest challenges for leaders across the globe has been able to predict the unpredictable successfully. The one who could do so thrived, while the ones who missed the boat perished. The last year brought to the world something that perhaps no could ever have imagined. The once in 102 years pandemic altered the core of our businesses completely and forced leaders across the world to reflect and find ways to fortify their leadership skills. Hello and welcome to the Honest Talk by Freak Folks. I'm Harsh Pandey. For this particular session, we have with us very special guest today, Ms. Payal Nanjiani ma'am. She is a top leadership speaker and one of the world's renowned leadership experts who to date has helped a million people and numerous organizations to succeed against all odds. She is a New York award-winning author of leadership books. She has been featured extensively for her work on leaderships on America's Fox 50 News channel, Mumbai Mirror, global magazines, and multiple worldwide media. She has been honored as the only Indian American woman to be powerful leadership speaker and author in America. So, first of all, ma'am, I welcome you to in this session. Thank you so much for joining and agreeing to share your thoughts with us.
thank you so much, Harsh. It's nice to be on this podcast of Freak Folks, and thank you for inviting me, Harsh.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It's our pleasure too. So, moving to the topic of today's session, which we have chosen is redefining leadership in the age of new normal. A new way of working has emerged from the post industrial age into the digital one, and with it, the need of new leadership skills. And what are your views on the demanding leadership of this new age? How will it going to be?
Um, well, Harsh, if I was to ask, your listeners that, if I was to ask them to think that the fate of their organization is going to be resting on their shoulders, how would someone respond? How would they think? How would they act? That's what the new age leadership is going to be demanding out of all of us. That we cannot be in a state where we are going to be thinking, oh, am I the right person? Will I be able to do
Right.
this? Have to be in a constant state of actions right now,
Exactly. Yes.
and the way, like you said, it's evolving. We've come from the industrial age to the AI age.
Right.
So just like businesses are evolving, even leadership is evolving. Okay, it's growing organically. We are seeing that your leadership has nothing to do with your position, with your titles. It has nothing to do with your status quo. So you have to leave your position, you have to leave your title, and whatever role you are playing in the workforce, that's where leadership begins from. So you have, the new age demands that we move away from the title and position. We gravitate more towards the people, and we have to be willing to think bigger than
Exactly.
our titles, bigger than our job description, which means every single day you're going to be coming to work with an attitude to make a difference and change the world for the better.
No, exactly. I think you have mentioned very good points that this is the age where everyone needs to learn the leadership skills irrespective of their position. Ma'am, my next question to you is what we have seen in the business world has changed dramatically over the last few decades, as you have rightly mentioned. And now now live in a connected society where change can be very fast paced, constant and unpredictable. Rapid advance in technology have created an environment where the internet, smartphones, and social media are ubiquitous, and the 2008 global financial crisis and 2025 pandemic has increased the sense of turbulence, danger, and unpredictability in certain areas. In your opinion, what critical skills to require and excel in this fast-paced changing world?
That's a nice question, Harsh. Skills that will be required in this changing business world. I could think of probably two or three of them, and I'll give you personal examples out of them. One is, you've got to increase your mental immunity. That's one of the critical skills that you will need, anyone would need, is to increase your mental immunity. And I'll give you a classic example that took place with me. I was in Dallas and I was conducting a leadership talk for a healthcare conference back there. And after the 2 days conference, and it was time for me to fly back home to North Carolina, I decided to just stop by for some, general shopping and everything. And I picked up all the stuff. I had my bill and everything, and when I went in the car to just check if everything is fine, I saw that I was billed for an item which I had not collected from the counter. So I went back into the shop and I gave the bill out there, and I said, look, I've been charged for this, and it was something, I think it was an item of $75 or something. And I said, I haven't, it's not there in my bag. So this lady at the counter, she looked at me and she looked very frustrated, and she said, okay, you should have been very careful with the billing. And then she got irritated because she had to do the entire billing system again. Then the manager came, things got cooled down. But here's what I was thinking is that if trivial situations, everyday situations like that are going to disturb us, is going to disturb our thinking, we will not be able to make clear decisions in our lives, right? So like you mentioned, that these are times of changes. So in times of changes, you have to think very quickly on the feet. So if you're going to be disturbed with every little thing that happens in your job, for example, it is the duty of that customer service agent to make sure that I am taken care of when it came to a complaint that I had made. That I have not picked up my, like, she forgot to, she's billed it, but she forgot to put it in the bag because bagging is her duty.
Yes.
So rather than blaming me or getting irritated, how she handles the situation, everyday situation, is important. So that's number one, is increase your mental immunity. Number two, I would say, is focus on yourself. Okay, now, in fact, Harsh, in one of my books, I think it was the first book, Success is Within, where I had written about a story from the Eastern world, that it's about a king and his four wives, and how at the time of death he asked each of his wife to accompany him to the world beyond, and everyone raised their hands and said, no, we are not going to come. And invested in his wives, four wives, and none of them are willing to come. The three of them were not willing to come. But out of them, one said, I will come with you wherever you go. And when he looked at her, he saw that she was very frail and very not very healthy and very weak. And he regretted, he said, you're the one who's going to come with me everywhere, and I just didn't take care of you. So that's exactly what I tell in all of my conferences, that you are going to take yourself with you everywhere in the world, to that meeting, to that new job, everywhere. So work harder on yourself than you can ever do on your job. It reminds me of what Abraham Lincoln had said, that give me 6 hours to chop down a tree, and I will spend the first four in sharpening the axe. So that's exactly what we want to do. We want to make sure that we focus on ourselves, because our results are because of us. We are not because of the results. And if I had to add one more, it would be develop an intuitive mindset. In my work with coaching CEOs across the globe, I have seen that this is a very common element where they develop their intuitive mindset, where they are where they trust themselves, they trust their instincts, and that's how then they move ahead. So they are the ones who are not thinking only rationally, they're also thinking with an intuitive mindset and trusting themselves. So I think these are, according to me, would be really helpful for anyone to develop, so that they can be the leaders of tomorrow.
Exactly, I think you have touched on the very important and relevant points, which I think we all need to accept and need to learn. And my next question to you is: leaders use self discipline to sharpen their willpower and decision making skills to command respect from others and to lead by example to achieve their goal, regardless of their feeling, to gain profit and to look beyond hard work, to stick to their decisions, to evaluate themselves and place boundaries, to compartmentalize their emotions. How do you define the role of self discipline in your life? And it would be great if you could add some of your personal life experience.
Oh, it's really funny you would ask me that, Harsh, because I've always advocated that discipline is much because motivation can only take you this far. So if you want to remain average, then yes, talk about motivation. But if having worked with so many successful people, and prominent leaders, I have seen that they practice discipline. There is
Yes.
motivation in their dictionary as such, right? So and in fact, that's how I have written all of my leadership books, with the third one coming up now, is because of the discipline. It's been a big time in my own life. And the credit for this goes to my mother. She has always encouraged us to lead a disciplined life right from the beginning. So when you ask about discipline, here's what I feel is that, discipline is your ability to actually get yourself to take those actions, whether or not your emotions permit it, right? So you're not going to be you're just going to go ahead and take action, which means that it's an inside job that you have to do. And it's one of the greatest leadership tools. And in my own life, if I was to share any incidents, I would say, when I was looking at growing into leadership roles early on in my career in corporate America, when I wanted to become a leader, and I was studying about leadership, I was doing these courses, I was working hard, that started, that came into the picture when that was opened up into the organization. Another colleague of mine got the promotion over me. Now, at that time, had I not had self discipline, I would have got irritated. I would have got frustrated. I would have thought, why should I work hard? Why should I do more things? So, what I am sharing here is beyond discipline in the action. It's a lot of self discipline that you need in your thought process, right? So, um, you may have set these wonderful rituals of waking up early in the morning and working hard, and sleeping early and eating right and eating on the time. But if your thinking is impulsive, and if your thinking is negative, and if your thinking is taking you on a downward spiral, right? So those are the things that are going to worsen your results. So most problems that happen in our life is because we lack the discipline in our thought process.
Right.
So it is in your thoughts. I always say that your actions are hidden.
Hmm.
Okay, so you will be amazed at the results that manifest when you take discipline beyond the outer discipline and take it internally, internalize it, and develop a self-disciplined routine for your thinking process. That can take you like really ahead in the game.
Indeed, ma'am. I think you have actually very beautifully explained. I'm very impressed from your this answer. Ma'am, my next question to you is, or rather, I want you to talk about what are the unhealthy boundaries. What are the things one must consider before setting his or boundaries, and what happen when you don't set boundaries? How to deal with someone who have no boundaries?
Unhealthy boundaries. Okay. I would say unhealthy boundary is anything when you don't know when to push forward, when to pause, and when to speed up. Those are
Exactly.
the three things every leader has to know, right?
Right.
So you have to know, if you're not able to know that, your boundaries are definitely not set. In fact, my team does a lot of research on leaders, on global leaders, and one of the major reasons why we see that people are not setting boundaries, even if they know about boundaries, is because they have this constant fear that I don't want to make someone unhappy. Okay, I don't want someone to stop liking me. Okay, so when you're going to think like this, you're not going to make any boundaries. You're not going to set any boundaries. You're going to make sure that, okay, at least I'll please everyone. So you become a people pleaser. And what that leads to is, when you don't have set boundaries, one of the biggest thing that will happen in your life is that you will begin to say yes to everything and everyone around you, which means you will be on everyone's agenda, and everyone is going to pull you, do this for me, do that for me, and you're going to land up doing it. So that's the reason why many people are not able to say no. They land up saying yes to everyone and everything, right? So you have to create your own boundaries, and you have to have a vision. You have to set your vision. You have to know. See, because if you don't know where the road is going, any road will take you there. So you have to set your vision. You have to make sure that you recognize what's your energy drainers. What drains you out. Is it you know uh, you just have to think that, okay, what drains me out? Is it people? Is it money? Is it negative people around me, circumstances, doing a certain task? What's draining you out and why it's draining you out? That's how you begin the process of creating boundaries in your life.
Exactly. I think again, ma'am, you have very beautifully defined this. And ma'am, my next question to you is, and I really want to talk about this. Everyone experience imposter syndrome at one point or another. It's that pattern you find yourself in where you doubt your skills, talent, or accomplishment, and it's persistent. You fear being exposed, feeling like folk will find out you aren't as brilliant, amazing, and as fantastic as they thought. My request to you is, ma'am, please share some of the tips to deal with imposter syndromes, and also it would be great if you could add some of your personal life experiences.
Yeah, this is a very, very nice subject, Harsh, imposter syndrome. In fact, since the time I have been running my own coaching and training company, which is now almost more than 18 years, I have many interesting stories to share, but I'll share one that would probably resonate here with the imposter syndrome. Okay, so this was when I was, I remember the most was my first live television interview. Okay, so this was the local news channel in America itself. So it was a local news channel that invited me to speak about my executive coaching and how it has been transforming the lives of leaders and getting them to be more successful. So I had done all my prep work. I had, researched everything. I was ready, and I reached the TV center, and one of the persons there, he asked me, he said, so are you nervous? And I said, heck no, I've got this. I'm great. But internally, I was actually saying to myself, who am I to talk on the news channel about leadership and share all these, leadership nuggets with people? So at that time, when I think now, is I was actually suffering from a case of dreaded imposter syndrome. Okay, and it almost held me back from really giving my best in that interview. In fact, when it was my turn to sit across this interviewer, the news anchor, and he asked me my very first question, I stammered, and I said things that just did not make any sense. And even today, when I look back and I see that interview, I have it on me on my tape also. I feel so stupid, if only then I was calm and composed, and if I believed in my own ability and talent, I'm sure that interview would have been great. Things would have been better. And since then, of course, I've appeared on many television interviews, and not just in America, but even outside. And I've learned very well that I'm not here to talk to impress anyone, but I am here to express myself honestly and with a very clean heart and a very pure intention.
Exactly.
So,
Please.
go ahead.
No, I'm sure. Please.
So what I was, when you asked me, how do you deal with this imposter syndrome, or how anyone can deal, Harsh? it's you have to know what you are and who you are and what you're doing, right? So you have to be really very, very vulnerable. Okay, what happens is leaders are always expected to be perfect. They're always expected to know it all, to be
Right.
superhuman. But we are all humans. At the end of the day, we are all humans, right? So you don't hide your imperfections. You don't attempt to show that I am very perfect in what I am doing. In fact, the more you talk to people about your mistakes, your learnings, your journey, what hurt you, what did you enjoy the most, people are here to connect more deeper with you, right? So you have to be very authentic. You have to be very real. You've got to stop making up things every time, because if you do that, then eventually, yes, everyone is going to know about you and you are going to be exposed. So stop making up things. Just be your natural self. What you know is what you know. And just recognize, what are some of your imposter syndromes? Like, are they financial imposter syndromes, or are you like a perfectionist? Are you like an expert? What types of imposter syndrome do you have? Because many people are burdened by what people think about them. Oh, you know what? So and so thinks I am an expert. So now I am worried, if what if I'm exposed that I'm not an expert? So you try to recognize what it is and just be your authentic self. That goes a long way in helping people to just get away from that imposter syndrome.
Indeed, ma'am. I think actually this was a very meaningful answer from your side, and I'm sure the viewers who are watching this session, they are surely going to find this meaningful as well as insightful on many levels. And I must say, ma'am, there's a lot more to learn from you, and there's a lot more stories to hear from you. But today we are a sort of a time, and I don't want to take too much of your time. So moving to my last question of this session, towards the end of our conversation, could you please, in 2 words, define the way forward?
So basically, what's the way forward? Okay. I would say trust the process in 3 words. Okay, not 2 words. So trust the process. Many a times, what happens, Harsh, is we are all working hard. We are doing what we have to do, and we don't see the results. We feel the needle is not moving significantly in our lives. And when that happens, we tend to give up. We tend to, take another path. We
Right.
forget our dream, our vision, and our goals, and we feel that okay, we are not made for success. Whereas one thing that I always say is success never discriminates between man or a woman. It's equal for all. It's there for everyone to become successful. In fact, I write this in my books also. So trust the process. When you don't see anything, there is nothing happening. There's a lot happening underneath. There's a lot happening inside, in solitude, where the universe is working with you and it's working for you. It has your back. It takes time. Nature always takes time to get you the results. So stick there, trust the process, and make sure that you keep moving ahead, because today it's the pandemic, tomorrow it's going to be something else. You have to
Right.
know exactly how to move ahead and how to trust that process which is happening for you and not to you.
Indeed, ma'am. I think this was very inspiring word from your side, and thank you so much, ma'am, for joining and giving your important time. I must say the kind of energy you brought into the session was very inspiring for me as well. And we look forward to conduct more such session with you in future. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Absolutely, Harsh. Thank you so much for inviting me to your episode here and to Freak Folks. And it's a pleasure to be here and to speak to your audience. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank
On the
you.
ground is where I stand. Never give up, that was always the plan. It's so cold outside.